And we're here, and we're back, and we're live. In the studio today with Wahima Lino, talking about pop culture. Hi, Jasmine. Thank you so much for being here. It's fine. Only one person is here, but you guys will watch this on the playback. So, as per usual, we'll get started 5 minutes in, and I'm going to let everybody kind of come into the room, those who would like to participate in this random Say What with Juan Chris. Chris was not joining me today. I wasn't able to do it on Wednesday, and then I didn't know when I was going to be able to do it. So I went live with Chris on Friday, yesterday. So you could check out her video where we did talk about at least one of these topics. But there were some other pop culture things that happened that I wanted to mention, specifically and especially dealing with the Black community. And so I had to go live today, and didn't want to stress her out by saying, do you want to go live? Just wanted to go live and not have any worries or qualms or anything like that. So 5 minutes in, guys, we're going to get started. So go get your drinks, go hang out. All right, we're almost back. We'll be back in about 1 minute. Oh my God, you guys. You were late. I explained what I was doing. I generally don't know popular culture. No sound. Yeah, I went on. How come, Jasmine? Why didn't you tell the people where I were? Oh, Jasmine said she didn't know either. Well, in the first minute of this live, I explained what I was doing and told you guys I'd be back at 5 minutes. And now everyone's like, "We can't hear you. Where are you? What are you doing?" That's so funny. No, I had you on mute. I was doing stuff. We skipped started at 5 minutes. Thanks. Thanks. I guess nobody was really in the room when I explained what I was up to. I was like, hey guys, just here. I'm gonna put this picture up, but I'll be back in 5 minutes. Oh, here it goes. Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to this episode of Say What with Wah and Chris. Chris is not here. It's just Wah. So hello. All right, let's jump into some. How dare I show up late? The revenge of me, like reading. I was reading some articles so that I made sure that the topics that I had with you guys, I knew what I was talking about. So here's that. Okay, so I want to talk about this. I already talked about Ellen Pompeo and Denzel Washington on Chris's channel, which not that I can't talk about it some more. So I will. Look at this picture of Ellen that they put up. This is such an unflattering picture. You know what I need is they cannot put the shadow under her eyes anymore because it looks like she's tired. So apparently she's been on this show for 18 seasons. Like, I cannot get into Grey's Anatomy to save my life. Like, I don't care. So happy for her. So word on the street drama is that Denzel Washington was directing an episode of Grey's Anatomy. And it seems as though an actor was acting and Ellen didn't like the choices that the actor was making. So in the scene, she gives the actor a direction. Denzel says, hold up there, cut. Don't give him any directions. And she's like, look here, MFer, this is my show. You don't tell me what to do. And now, as I have said in the past, when people like Robert Downey Jr., Will Smith, any juggernauts of any show, any movie, when they don't like something or they want something to change, all they need do is say that. And because they are the juggernaut, they are the moneymaker, they are the person bringing the kids to the yard, they are the milkshake bringing the boys to the yard, the milkshake gets what they want. And so Ellen said that to the director, which in general, in any normal working environment, that is unacceptable. Not because the director is the director, not because the producer is producer, because the people are the people and humans are humans, right? So as an HR rep, my thought is, no, you're not allowed to cuss at this person. You're not allowed to be rude to this person. If you say something and you didn't mean for it to be rude and it came off as rude, then there's a conversation to be had, a hands of shaking to be done. But there is no, this behavior is unacceptable. But in certain fields in this world, that kind of behavior is accepted and there will not even be a slap on the hand. It's just, it is what it is, which I find to be lawless and just like the wild, wild west. I think that there always should be decorum and there always should be a penalty for cussing at someone. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Tom Hanks or Tom, the other Tom who hangs out of buildings. What's the Tom's name? Tom jumping on couch Tom, Scientology Tom, what's his name? Tom Hanks, no. Tom Cruise. Whether it be Tom Cruise yelling at a cast member because the cast member is acting a fool, I do not think that it is appropriate for people who work together to yell at each other or cuss at each other in any form. I don't think it's appropriate. Now, I know it happens, but I don't think it's appropriate. And I do think that there needs to be something done. Now, if that's a fine or whatever, it needs to happen. Now, here's the part that got us all talking about this, is that she did it to Denzel motherfucking Washington, okay? She did it to Devil as in a Blue Dress, Denzel Washington. She did it to Pelican Brief, Denzel Washington. She did it to Denzel Fences Washington. She did it to Denzel Equalizer Washington. She did it to Denzel Glory, one tear coming down your face, Washington. Denzel is a living goat. Okay? Denzel knows Scandal Washington. Denzel, I know the words to Cardi B's Bodak Yellow Washington. And that's where the problem lies. Is that mama stepped out of herself, looked left, looked right, and said, I'm gonna yell at Denzel Washington. It would be like her yelling at Anthony, what's that British man's name? Anthony, not Hamilton, because that's not Anthony, Joe Black, Anthony. Anthony, Silence of the Lamb, Anthony. What's his name? Sir Anthony. What's his name? Sir Anthony what? Y'all know his name. Sir Anthony. We've seen him in all the movies. We love him. Anytime he's in anything, we're like, he's like with a nice Chianti. Clarice. And Hopkins, girl, couldn't get it. Oh, Hopkins. Thank you. Hopkins. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like her saying it to Anthony Hopkins. It's like her saying it to Sir Ian McKellen. It's like her saying it to just another actor in this world whose reputation and renown is undisputable, whose talent is unreputable, whose skill is unchallenged. Okay? That's the thing. It's like, ma'am, you've had this show for 18 years and congratulations. Shonda Rhimes put you on and gave you the platform that you have to this day for you to come here and act a fool. But then you acted a fool to Denzel Washington? Now, producers are the ones and production companies and, those are the ones who really run things. Directors don't really run things unless they are putting up the majority of the money. It's the man that holds the bag that is the king. You know what I'm saying? That gets to make the decisions. So the network isn't going to do anything because the network is holding the bag, right? The network's not going to do anything to Ellen because they can't. Like, what are they going to do? If she quits the show, they have no show. She has all the money and they have no show. Also, it's her responsibility as well. There's a lot of weight on Ellen because if she quits the show, all those actors are out of a job. So all of those actors who have been on the show for X amount of years, they're out of a job. Ellen has low-key pigeonholed herself because I know while she's probably done movies and stuff outside of Grey's Anatomy, she is known for Grey's Anatomy. I think she's the character Meredith from Grey's Anatomy. She is Grey's Anatomy. That's who we think about when we see her. Whomever, there's a lot of other folks that work on Grey's Anatomy. So if she were to quit, a lot of people would be out of work instantaneously. So they are going to pander to her. However, what you don't do is get on Beyonce's internet and tell everybody how you disrespected one of the most celebrated, beloved actors in all of the United States of America. Okay, we're talking about John Q. Denzel Washington. Okay. We're talking about Malcolm X. Denzel Washington. Okay, we're talking about Training Day. Even though I hated that movie. Denzel Washington. Okay? We're talking about the Denzel Washington. So, that is all I have to say about it. She messed up because she told her on herself and then shouted out that she was disrespectful to one of the most beloved actors in the game ever. There. Needs more any of that in him. Okay. Next thing we're going to talk about is Kelly Price, y'all. So, Kelly Price is a gospel singer, and she's near and dear to the Black community. Near and dear to the Black community. So, apparently, COVID hit her hard, and she literally, I believe I heard, she literally died, and they had to bring her back. And so, there was a rumor about that she was missing. Because nobody had heard of her. And her lawyer came out and said, Kelly's fine. I spoke to her. She's fine. But then her sister went on a show and was like, my sister will, in my mind, remain not fine until I hear from her. So now everybody is like, oh my God, where's Kelly? Where's Kelly? Where's Kelly Price? Who they done buried her? She's missing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, such a public figure to be missing is a big deal, right? I don't know any of her songs by heart, but I do know who Kelly Price is, right? So I was like, oh my God, Kelly Price is missing. That is crazy for a grown Black woman to just go missing. So because her sister did that, it got everybody like up in arms, running left and right looking for her. People even showed up to her house, knocked on her door, knocked on her neighbor's door. Kelly had to go live, not looking good, to prove that she was alive. And people like Debrat made comments of Kelly doesn't owe y'all anything. Y'all need to step back, blah de blahs, zay zay boo boo. And I think to myself, you're right. However, is it crazy that people showed up to her house? Yes, it's crazy that people know where she lives. That's crazy. That's a breach. And for anybody not aware of how crazy that is, I'm just going to tell you, if you show up to somebody's house, it's crazy. Okay? If you knock on their neighbor's door, that is crazy. You've gone past the limit of where you need to go. So this woman is terribly ill. Terribly ill. She was brought back to life and now is bedridden. And here's another thing, her and her sister are estranged. So it's crazy that her sister would use like the 2 minutes of fame in order to kind of say, "Oh, I'm waiting to hear back from my sister." If y'all are estranged, then y'all don't talk anyway. Then why would you having a conversation with her make any of the difference? Got everybody all got everybody all riled up. Got everybody all riled up because the sister said that. Now, you know, sister was not to be trusted. Also, I heard that the sister has an album coming out or a song dropping, and so people are like, "Oh, did she do that for clout to get people to check out her song?" But she didn't say like, "Oh, by the way, my song is coming out. Please check me out on Spotify." She didn't say that during the interview, but she was like, "Until I hear from her, I'm not believing anything." And I was like, "What kind of foul play is going on here?" But yeah, the woman is just super sick. And you know, COVID, there are people who, some people have like, don't get their taste of smell, their taste, their sense of taste, their sense of smell. Some people are still like on oxygen. Like there's a lot going on with some people who've gotten COVID and the effects after they have recovered or they're doing better. It's sometimes a long, hard road. And so maybe she didn't feel like tweeting and maybe she didn't feel like, you know, going talking to anybody, but she did tweet and people were like, this is not her, you know. So it was like a lot of conspiracy theory that went wild and somebody knocked on her door and the woman had to come on live in order to prove she was alive, looking haggard, but she had to do it because people were acting up. So listen, I'm just gonna say, if you out there and you really care about somebody, I get it. If I disappear and you really care about me, I understand, but don't come to my house. Not that anybody would come to my house. Who am I? Okay. So next thing I want to talk about is this person. So the R. Kelly verdict came down 5 years ago. Jurors have found R. Kelly guilty of racketeering, including acts of bribery, sexual exploitation of a child, along with charges of sex trafficking. Kelly was found guilty on 9 counts, one including the racketeering, and 8 counts of violating the Mann Act. Whew. He was found guilty for at least 2 to be convicted of that count. Now, the R. Kelly situation is a big deal in the Black community. It's a big deal in the Black community because there are still people in the Black community. So the reason why I'm saying this is because there's 2 worlds that I reside in. There's like the regular pop culture world, and then there's the Black pop culture world, right? So the R. Kelly situation has been a situation since I was like in high school. It has been known, or there have been rumors about R. Kelly and his dealings, beginning with Aaliyah. And that was a different time when I was young. It was a different time, right? So and I've said to you guys many times that I have had to change the way I think about certain ideals because of the way the zeitgeist was, or the hive mind thought was pertaining to certain situations, as like sexual assault, sexual harassment, the Me Too movement, all manner of things, right? So we are now more of an enlightened group of people, but there is a faction, there is a stripe, there is a community of Black folk who refuse to hold Robert L. Kelly solely responsible for his actions. They refuse it. And I don't know if this is something that happens all across the world. I don't know if this is some sort of trauma dealing with the patriarchy or dealing with the Black experience in America, but it is beyond me for any person, especially a woman, to say that a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old was a little fast ass and should have not done what they did. Or the next contingency of people who are like, okay, I guess he did it, that's fine, and he should be in trouble for it. But the parents too, because the parents are beating greedy gusses and they left their children with a pedophile, or they left their children with a predator and X, Y, and Z. And I said to myself, if a child gets molested by a coach or a doctor or someone that has the trust of the community, does and when they find out that this person is not to be trusted or has committed some horrible acts, does the community often say blame the parents? So let's say you're a single mom, or let's say you're not a single mom. Let's just say you were parents, and going to this high school is what got a lot of kids into the NFL or to the NBA. And so you put your trust in this coach or this assistant coach or whomever, this body of people. And it turns out that one of those people was messing with the kids. And maybe somebody else in the group knew about it. So let's say there's 5 coaches, one of the coaches is a pedophile, and maybe 2 or 3 heard smatterings or had, players come up to them and say, hey, yo, this guy, he's doing wrong. They hear it. They don't really do anything. Maybe they confront him. It's muddled. It's not clear what's going to happen. But whatever it is, the decision to keep this person stays on. Now, do we blame the parents for trusting the coaches? Do we do that? The man who was sexually assaulting gymnasts, the doctor, the trusted personnel, do we blame that person? Do we blame the parents? To me, it's the exact same situation, and you can mince it and you can try to dissect it and figure it out. The fact is that R. Kelly is a predator, and he's a predator of young teenage girls. And he got away with it for decades. He was abusive to his wife, and he was abusive to his staff, all in different ways. He himself abused, but that does not excuse his abusive behavior, and does not excuse the people around him who let it happen, the adults around him who saw what was going on, and everyone turned a blind eye to it. And we are in a place, in a time, in a world in which we are starting to become more understanding of sexual assault. There is an entire movement, and then there's an anti of that movement pushing back on it. But it breaks my heart that there are people out there that do not care that this man took advantage of these girls. Now, we had one of the girls, women now, who was a part of it. And she met with, when R. Kelly met with Gayle King and got upset and was yelling and crying, he coached his girlfriends at the time to go in very angry and upset and cry as well. And now one of those girlfriends, I think her name is, it's like Azery. She is meeting with Gail, or she's met with Gail again to say, no, I was actually being coached and it was all a lie and I was so scared. Now, personally, I don't care to hear from her. Um, but I don't understand Stockholm and trauma and all those things the way that I know a lot of people do. But like at this point, to me, you went on camera defending him, and now you're on camera again saying that you two were a victim when we knew you were a victim. I was okay. I understood that you were a victim of it. I understood that you felt you had no choice. I understood that you felt coerced. I understood that you were scared, even though your parents were literally outside looking for you, trying to get you. At the moment when your parents came to find you, you were not willing to go with them. That's fine. But at this point, I'm glad that you're free, but I don't want to see you doing any interviews. And I don't know what that is. I don't know how I feel. I don't know why I feel that way. But I don't want to hear from Azriel. I see it. I see it here. I don't want to hear from her. I'm glad she's okay. I'm glad she's out and I'm glad she's safe. But I heard from her once and now I don't want to hear from her again. I'm glad for all the women who got out. I'm glad for his wife who was able to get out. Because after that after that documentary, I really did feel for her because I feel like weren't her parents, if I'm not mistaken, Rashana, her parents were in the documentary, and there was a moment where we saw her filmed, or another young lady filmed, like up in a hotel, and they were like, the parent was waiting for them to come down, and they never came down. So I hate she killed her credibility like that, but I believe her. I believe her. I just I don't want. I just. I. If it to me, it feels wrong. It feels. It feels like it's not. I would rather hear from someone who we never heard from before say, "Yes, this happened to me, and I'm out now," as opposed to someone we heard. So that's a big thing that happened. And I wanted to talk about it because I did a whole video about R. Kelly prior to of watching that and my heart breaking for those women and their experience and like having to let go. I don't support R. Kelly anymore. I'm not streaming anything, but there are people who are still streaming his music and they don't want him to be blamed. And I hope that those people aren't teaching their young girls, but they are. I mean, but I hope they're not. I hope that their young girls are able to think about or above that sort of silly behavior, silly thought of these fast girls, or what about the parents? What about the parents? What? There are parents who put their kids in precarious situations knowing that things could go wrong. And these parents didn't, talking about they're just greedy and they're doing it for the money. Why are you defending R. Kelly like this? It doesn't matter if he did it to one girl or if he did it to 10 girls. He did it. He did it. He's a terrible human being. That is a terrible act that he did. And those around him allow it to happen are terrible as well. So there's that. Also, I did see something where not Kanye, what's his name? Akon. Yes, her parents wanted her back, got her back. Then she returned to him after the doc. Yeah. So there was a TMZ caught Akon at the airport, as TMZ catches everybody, or coming out of somewhere, and he's like, people should be allowed to redeem themselves, and I mean, just all some other stuff. And I was just like, Akon, what do you got in your closet to where you feel like this person who has taken advantage of multiple 15-year-olds, multiple 16-year-olds, multiple. What have you done to where you feel like this person deserves a second chance or deserves to be his life to be redeemed? R. Kelly never at one time came out and said what he did. He tap danced around it. He did admit it to a certain extent. He tap danced around it for the most part, making like, oh, I do like young girls, but everybody, I didn't make them do anything. I didn't force anything. He had a whole situation going on several different times in several different states. He had some shit going down in Atlanta. He had shit going down in Chicago, and now he's reaping what he's sown. I don't feel sorry for him at all. And for the fact for Akon to say that he needs to have some sort of redeemable act and people need to forgive and it's only gonna help the victims if they forgive him and I said, what? So I'm waiting for whatever's gonna happen with Akon. Ooh, what is this? Akon's was 15 as well, so he feels understanding of Robert. Oh, what'd she say? Akon had his own issue with underage girls. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. You know what I find so interesting is that I've I've had conversation with men who feel like maybe I'm trying to bridge something and I shouldn't bridge it. I'm not going to bridge it because I don't want to make it seem like there's something about women being innocent or being untouched that I find to be a problem with the patriarchy. And I don't necessarily know if this is kind of within the same line of that, but there is something to be said for people who feel that women should be basically pure or untouched or virgin like in order to have any real value. And I think that when you have those thoughts, then age kind of factors into that. Also the idea of being submissive, the idea of being controlled, you know? Like sometimes when I hear super conservative women talking about serving their husbands and serving the Lord, I just think to myself, not that I think that anything is in general or innately wrong with that, but I think with that comes a lot of other things. You know? It's kind of like the BDSM community, where like I don't see anything wrong with adults engaging like that, but then there are people who take it to another level. Does anyone see what I'm trying to say? There's something that kind of equates it, where it's like, oh, you're supposed to be pure, you're supposed to be submissive, and then you see it in cults, you see it in certain fundamentalist groups where so in order to get that pure and submissive, the age of the woman gets younger and younger in order to meet that. And I think that therein lies a problem because those lines get blurred often. And it's unfortunate that there are women in the crossfires of that and women who also support that because they're supporting an ideal that cannot be controlled or contained. And so, therefore, the ideal becomes dangerous. That's what I'm thinking. What are you guys saying? In the song lyrics, he blames the club for letting her in and blames her dad for letting her out that young. It's crazy. So then, when you're doing that, now it's dad's fault, right? And then, like, actually, it's just a snowball effect. It's a snowballed effect. I was so unequipped as a young girl. Absolutely. So I think that's, I mean, not I think. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about it. I mean, I do have a lot to say about it, but it's hard to like get my thoughts in order. Unless you have those super open lines of communication where your child feels comfortable speaking to you about certain things. Like because I think it sometimes happens in the Black community because of church, right? There's this ideal that you were supposed to be pure and you're supposed to save yourself. And if you were to go to your parent about it, your parent would then shun you. They wouldn't go, okay, my daughter's having sex. Let me try to talk her out of it, or let me, give her the tools required. Okay, I've already failed on the whole keep your virginity to your marriage bit, but we're here. Now, this is how we're going to pivot. They don't do that. It immediately becomes shame. It immediately kicking you out of the house. It immediately becomes something crazy as the reaction. When if you had a calmer reaction, then you could maybe head them off at the pass. Get what I'm saying? Let's see. But once you learn the girl's age, you need to stop and no longer blame her or the club. Oh, 100%. Religious society I grew up in, no redemption for fallen women, period. Which is so crazy. Because if there is a road to redemption for women, the same way there is for men, right? Because there's this idea that like men can't be held responsible for their urges, yet women are supposed to be held can be held responsible for their urges because women's allure is so powerful and a man's penis and his mind is so dumb. And it's like, if you had a road to redemption for women the way you have for men, then your religious group would be stronger. You wouldn't be condoning transgression. That's not what that is. That is allowing for there to be grace. The same way that you would forgive a stranger off the street or give a stranger off the street money. And I get it, it's personal, right? Because you think that you've raised your children the right way and you've done everything that you could, yet they've still gone against what it is that you raised them to do. So your reaction is to shun them. And I get it, because I feel like I might have the same thing. I'm going to talk to my kids about drugs. If they become addicts, I will be very upset. Like, because I'm not gonna like, hold back and like be holier than thou with it. Like, no, there is such thing as being an addict. And when you realize that you are one, you need to do everything you can. Why would R. Kelly get redemption? He should be treated the way he treated others. I agree. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. So the last thing that I want to talk about is this Danish artist was paid $84,000, in the Danish money. So it was an equivalence of that. And so after being paid, he sent the museum 2 empty canvases to protest modern capitalism. He called the title of the works are Take the Money and Run. And it's to represent those working in miserable conditions. He says, I quote, I encourage other people who have working conditions as miserable as mine to do the same. If you're sitting in some shitty job and not getting paid and are actually being asked to pay money to go to work, then grab what you can and beat it. So the museum is kicking back. I mean, they actually posted it, right? So the museum actually did post that because they paid for it. So they posted it. But they're like, no, he owes us back the money. He has to pay the money back by January 16th. I'm like, so I'm sorry, January 16th? Do you think he's going to return that money? He says, no, I'm not returning that money. I gave you what it is. This is my protest. Okay. I'm keeping this money. I don't owe you anything. I'm not in breach of anybody's contract because the work is what you see. My art is the act of me taking your money and giving you nothing. That is the art. You're welcome. You're welcome. Woo! I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy. Ramsterdam, what you guys say? This is in your neck of the woods. This is crazy. Jasmine says, who are they to tell him his work of art is or isn't? That's hilarious. It is definitely is very, very savage. The Danish. So I went to Big Sur and they were selling mason jars of air. What? Yeah. So I mean, I just think that I want him to keep the money. I want him to not owe them anything. But also, if it is a small museum and they truly can't afford it, and that was a huge bit of money to give. I mean, do I even believe that they're a small museum? Is there such thing as a small museum? Is there such thing as a poor museum? I mean, don't they have backings by like viewers like you? Um, I'm sure the museum is getting more traffic because of this. They're like, let me go and see the blank canvas. I wish that it was just like, I wish he put something on it. I wish he had put like, take the money and run. Like, even if he had just done that on it, just in his handwriting, take the money and run. Oh, yeah. Look at all the publicity they're getting. Let me tell you the name of it too. So you can, we're not a wealthy museum, says the Kunsten Museum. The money came from modest reserves, earmarked for the upkeep of the building, and we have to think carefully about how we spend our funds. And we don't spend more than we can afford. I'm sorry, you can afford 84K for 2 pieces of work? 84K? How poor are you? How poor are you? 84K? We only pay for things we can afford. We can afford 84K. So then take these blank canvases and leave me alone. That's what I say. I hope he gets to keep the money, and I hope this. I hope he gets to keep the money. Is what I hope. Okay, you guys, that's it. That's all I got to talk about. So thank you for joining this episode of Say What with Waht. For those of you who are part of the replay, gang, gang, gang. Thank you so much. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Thank you for the 64 people who have joined me for this conversation. If you would like to throw something in the tip jar, you can use these methods down below. Otherwise, I am curating a list of things to talk about for 90 Day Fiance. So far, I've got Evelyn and Corey because they've been going back and forth on these social media streets. I've got Kay and Mark because I've been following Kay, and her and Mark are up to the most good. We've got Larissa, and we've got Angela and her Trump photo. So I just kind of wanted to see what hot button things were happening. Family Chantel is coming back, and I will be talking about those. So, I mean, them, because I do love them. So, yeah. If you guys want me to talk about something, let me know down below. I'll check it out. But I hope you guys have a fantastic Saturday, and thank you for joining me. Remember to be you, be true, and find your place. Bye. I haven't stopped it. You're right. I want to look at 90 Day Fiance stuff with someone here. So you can go if you want to. Okay. What's been happening with 90 Day Fiance? 90 Day Fiance. 90 Day, 90 Day, 90 Day. Oh, Natalie. Ooh, Sinjin and what's her face? Sinjin and Tanya. There's rumors going on them. And then there's stuff happening with Natalie. Natalie, any drama? No, I won't watch The Bachelorette. It frustrates me too much. It really does. I wonder if anything interesting is happening with the Stacys and Darcys. Oh, I did like Love on the Spectrum. Is that back on Netflix? Nicole and Azan broke up officially. She's focusing on her life and going back to school. And all I can say is it's about dang time, girl. This man got on national television, told you that he only loved you 55%. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. That is too much. It's too hot. Too hot, lady. Gotta run for shelter. Gotta run for shade. I guess I should watch 90 Day Bears All. I think that's what I should do. Azan, also known as Hassan, yeah. I knew that was his name. Darcy broke up with Georgie, good, because he was just taking all her money and ish. Season 2 of Love on the Spectrum is out on Netflix with Michael. With Michael who? Michael? That person? Are you telling a joke? All right, I should watch Love on the Spectrum today then. That's what I'll do. Ugh, Colt. Boo. Who cares about Colt? Too hot lady. All right, this is in for real, you guys. Bye.